Trump was not messing around 7 years ago when he told us we'd be on an even playing field sooner than we know it. I'm going to remind you once again of a video that I played over and over again where Trump said monetarily we'll be on an even playing field before we know it. Today, inflation came in at 2.3%. And I'm going to take you a little bit deeper than just the surface of trying to get rich in an asset class. And I'm going to show you the systematic change and how the normal everyday person, if they position themselves correctly on the back end of this year, could radically transform their family's life. But remember, there is no get rich quick. There's getting wealthy for sure by understanding the game, becoming disciplined, understanding how to create cash flow, not cash. Cash is trash. And I'm going to show you that today. Understanding appreciating assets, but being in the proper appreciating assets that are deflationary, unlike the US dollar that is inflationary. Number 3 is learning how to protect that wealth and learning how to create leverage for your family to become your own bank as we move into this new wave of energy. So as we go through this video today, I want you to get out a pen and paper. I want you to take a nice deep breath, and I want you to understand that everything is going to be okay. It's about discipline. It's about consistency. It's about staying out of other men and women's business because you're too busy working on yours. So let's dive in today. Now I'm going to show you this video. Now, if you follow my channel, I'm not the person to follow if you do not like consistency and repeated behaviors, because I always say you should be weary of the man or woman who changes their narrative every 15 seconds. And you should focus on the person who you can measure every single result because they've been consistent for a long enough period of time. So we're going to play this video one more time, and I'm going to show you how all these dots tie together.
Discussed a lot of subject. It was a long talk, and
This is 7 years ago.
Working on that as we speak. We have conversations with various representatives of China. I believe that will all work out very well for everybody: China, Japan, the United States, and everybody in the region. As far as the currency devaluations, I've been complaining about that for a long time. And I believe that we will all eventually, and probably very much sooner than a lot of people understand or think, we will be all at a level playing field, because that's the only way it's fair. That's the only way that you can fairly compete in trade and other things.
Okay, so that was 7 years ago, and that's what he had planned. And then he got beat in the presidential election. Now here we are, okay, 7 years later, and everything's coming to fruition. His plan, he had 4 years to stew this over. He had 4 years to be strategic. He had 4 years to plan this. So don't think that the first things that have happened this first 4 to 5 months weren't methodically planned out. It's working. And on the back end of this year, you're going to see these markets absolutely fly. And you better be positioned in the right assets that are going to be here in the future. So we're going to play this. Eric Daugherty posted this. This is Treasury Secretary Bessent. Listen to what he says about Chinese delegation. Basically told us once President Biden came into office, they just ignored the obligations. So Trump had this all set up for an amazing economy going on the back end of the pandemic, or going into the pandemic, right? And then this is what happened.
What has to happen is it has to be fair for the American people. But in January 2020, President Trump produced a template. We had an excellent trade agreement with China, and the Biden administration chose not to enforce it. The Chinese delegation basically told us that once President Biden came into office, they just ignored their obligations. So, we all already have a large framework. The other thing to remember here, Jonathan, is that this is a pause down to 10%. The April 2nd level for China is 34%. So we will be working to see where their final reciprocal number ends up. And the negotiations are a combination of tariffs, non-tariff trade barriers, currency manipulation, and subsidies of labor and capital.
Okay. Remember, Trump said he was concerned about the currency devaluation. They're talking about an even playing field. Biden completely ignored these and just let everything go. Okay. They were allowing everything to go overseas. They printed more money than in history. Then Trump came in. Of course, it feels like a shock. He had to repair all the things happening. But today, 2.3% inflation. It's working. Okay. Now I'm going to keep bringing this to you guys. Okay. So now the thing I want you to pay attention, they said 90 days. This trade deal is paused for 90 days. Okay. So we got the end of May, June, July. Then we'll be going into August. I predict August, September, October, November. These markets are going to rip straight up because you're going to have the trade deals finished. You're going to have printing machine turned back on, which is no good for the American dollar, but very good for Bitcoin, very good for XRP, very good for deflationary assets. Okay. But let's pay attention to what's happening. I want you to keep going into this trade deal. We need to pay attention to China and America trade deal.
I want to get back to the 90-day tariff pause.
The reason why I want you to keep hearing that 90 day, okay?
With China. Listen to what Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick had to say about the negotiations. Roll it.
This is just a China problem right now, right? We have 145% tariff. They have 125% tariff. Those tariffs are too high to do business. But that's why they're talking right now. The rest of the world is 10%. So don't overdo it. The rest of the world is 10%. They're sending their goods here, as the president has said time and time again. We are the consumer of the world. Everybody wants to sell their goods here, so they need to do business with America. And we're using the power of our economy to open their economy to our exporters.
Okay, remember, Trump said we're all going to be on an even playing field monetarily. The yuan is decreasing because they're printing money. They're at 300% debt to income ratio. America's at 130% debt to income ratio. We're about to turn our printing machine back on. There's a coordinated effort happening behind the scenes to switch us to an asset-backed monetary system. It's the only way we can go. You can't be China 300% in debt and America 130% in debt and continue to print money, but they're going to print money. Cantillon effect. That money is going to go into the hands of the top and bleed down to the people. They're going to be stacking their money in Bitcoin, gold, deflationary assets. Okay, I want you to listen to this. This is very, very powerful because I talk a lot about the printing of money and the devaluation of the US dollar. It's an inflationary currency. So this is former finance professor Tad Smith. After 25 years of teaching finance, I realized at 58 years old this. If the money printer grows at 8 to 10% annually and the S&P returns 9%, it just treads water. True wealth comes from outpacing the printer. Bitcoin, XRP. That's why I use two deflationary assets. I've outpaced the printer since 2020 to 2025. And now we're storing some of our wealth in our companies in deflationary assets. We have a Bitcoin treasury and an XRP treasury. We're outpacing the money printer and they're about to turn it back on. This is a 2 minute and 50 second video. Watch the whole thing.
I didn't realize that if the average year the money printer goes, call it 8 to 10%, even in the Western countries, even in the OECD nations, and the average return on the S&P 500 is, call it 9-ish%, including dividends, maybe 9.7, maybe a little less, that it means that all of the work of the S&P 500, all of the value created there is actually the money printer. That to me was startling. I mean, to think about that, the fundamental notion that in a closed system or even an open system, when you're printing money at the rate of 8 to 10% a year, everything is losing value. And the things that appear to be gaining value are not gaining value. They're just keeping you even. So you can put all your money in the S&P 500 and you're not gaining any relative wealth at all. That's a startling insight. I mean, when you really think about the entire value of the S&P 500, on average, over a long period of time, not even a long period of time, is equivalent to the money printer. That's, to me, a shock. And it was a shock that said, oh my goodness, how do you think about creating wealth that is relatively greater in this economy? And you have to look hard. The other thing you can imagine is I could tell you about Sharpe ratios and diversification. I could tell you all these different things. And, you know, it's interesting. You can take a concept like diversification of risk, and at a top level, it can be a very powerful and useful tool. But if you are so focused on the mechanistic aspect of that, you can step back and miss the forest, which is in a highly diversified portfolio, it's unbelievably hard to pick up relative amounts of wealth. It is. Diversifying your portfolio, however you do it, is by and large going to reduce your incremental gain in wealth, irrespective of the Sharpe ratio. It's concentration of capital in specific bets that outperform the money printer where you actually create wealth.
Super important.
That was a shock to me. I just didn't get it. I didn't understand it, even though I taught finance.
This is super important. Hear what he just said. Okay. So that's why I'm so strategic on my diversification. Okay. I'm heavily stacked in Bitcoin and XRP. Now I have Solana, HBAR, those things, but my weighting is in XRP and Bitcoin. I'm heavily concentrated. You have these people that have 50 different cryptos and they're telling you to get in and out of cryptos, chase meme coins, do all this stuff. There's no way you're going to get a concentration of wealth. You're diluting all of your wealth. And then I'm heavily vested in insurance, right? I'm heavily vested in business. So I have four categories specifically I'm heavily vested in. I'm heavily vested in XRP and Bitcoin. I feel really good about those. And it's done very, 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 very well. My XRP specifically, gosh, where's it at right now? It has gone up 618% since 2020. Crazy, right? And then my insurance has always done me right. Right. So I'm heavily vested in insurance, heavily vested in XRP and Bitcoin. I have my businesses, which are diversified. Okay. And then I have, a lot coming in from cash flow businesses. And then I'm really, really really heavily vested in two certain ETFs that pay dividends. And I'm de-risking back into Bitcoin and XRP because I'm trying to beat the money printer. Because of this, breaking US inflation falls to 2.3% lower than expected. They're going to turn this print. He's going to be forced to turn the printing machine on. Trump's plan is working. Okay. And then Coinbase posted this commercial. Just in, Coinbase releases new Bitcoin commercial showcasing how much fiat is being printed out of thin air.
Every day, the Fed prints an average of $465 million. That's 26,000 shipping containers a year, created out of thin air. Maybe that's why the dollar loses value over time. But there's one thing they can never print more of: Bitcoin. At the size of a quarter, this is all there will ever be. Shouldn't a store of value hold its value?
Shouldn't a store of value hold its value? And then yesterday, just in, Coinbase joined S&P 500. For all the naysayers out there, there you go. Wall Street has recognized cryptocurrency as a legit asset. Why the heck would they put Coinbase on the S&P 500? The whole game is about to absolutely change on us, family. Okay. So it's important to stay stoic. It's important to stay calm. It's important to build a serious budget. First thing you need to do is create cash flow. Okay. If you can't increase your income right now, you need to reduce your expenses. Okay. Some of the things you can do is if you look in your parking garage and you have two cars, get rid of both of them and go down to a paid off car. If you have car payments and you cannot invest, get out of your car payments. There's your first step. First, you have to reduce your debts and non-negotiables. Get down to debts and non-negotiables. That's it. That'll create a little bit of cash flow. Then you start to save, and then you spend what's left over. Okay. And if this was the time to do it, this is the time to do it. This is how I've been doing it. I lost everything in 2020, humbled myself, moved back in with my parents, locked and loaded, didn't touch my cryptocurrency portfolio. I studied cash flow. I studied the cash flow quadrant. I studied Richest Man in Babylon. And as my wealth has increased, I have not increased my expenses. I literally, every time I get more, I transmute it into something that's going to pay me cash or it's going to appreciate. And now I buy things from the assets. We just did that with Bitcoin. We bought a cash generating company with Bitcoin and we'll pay it off in 10 months. We're almost paid off. 2 months are already down. Okay. My point behind this is, guys, we have to get serious. We have to get disciplined right now. You need cash flow. Okay. You don't need cash. You need cash flow, and you need to transmute that into assets, that are deflationary. You want to beat this money printer. From there, When you profit, you want to put it into things that have been here forever. I use cash value life insurance. The first annuity was in the Roman days. If insurance collapses, the whole system collapses. They've made through world wars, great depressions. Insurance companies always make it. It's the foundation of the risk pyramid. If the system changes, the insurance will just be denominated in whatever it changes to. Insurance will never go away. It will always be here. It's the foundation of the risk pyramid. Okay. So we got our bank on the Bitcoin side. We got our bank on the insurance side. And then we have leverage. We can leverage the insurance. We can leverage the Bitcoin. And so then we get really hyper focused. And then you buy the things you want with assets. That's where the discipline comes in. So I hope this information reaches your heart well. I appreciate you guys very, very much. Be careful of scammers out there. We do not invest people's crypto. We do not have a trading platform. QFS accounts are a scam. Do not respond to any of these people reaching out to you. My Coach JV _ TikTok got banned. It got taken down. And just we relaunched another. That's an example of diversification. I'm diversified in assets, my investments. I'm diversified in business, and I'm diversified in social platforms. So it doesn't matter what happens. And I set myself up in a system. My system can handle an earthquake. And that's what I'm trying to help people understand and teach people. Okay. You don't ever want to put yourself in a position where someone can take away your ability to take care of your family like they did to me in the pandemic. They came in and shut my business down. And I couldn't take care of my family. I said, that will never happen again. So I'll get off my soapbox. If you need any support at all, if you click the link in my bio, you have the Coach JV Academy. You can set up for a live webinar with me as well, a live masterclass with me as well. You can also set up a appointment with my insurance team. If you're interested in learning about Bank on Yourself, cash value life insurance, I have a hand-picked elite team. It's my own company where we teach people Bank on Yourself, infinity banking concept, cash value life insurance, annuities. We make sure that we take care of you. So that's an absolutely free consultation. So that's in the description of this video or my social media platform. I'll see you on the inside. Warriors, let's get your shit together. Let's go.